Hey friends, I'm Wendy Jo and this is the Grow Podcast. And here's my friend Ashley.
Hey Wendy, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty well, getting a little tired. We've been doing a lot of producing today.
Yeah, a lot. Yes, it's a lot. I am getting tired too, but I could see why.
Yeah, I was up all night, but I got my second wind and here we go.
Yes, let's do it.
And I love this topic. I love all of our topics, but like when I'm in it and I'm thinking about, it, I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this. I think it's really important. So we're going to talk about spiritual bypassing versus authentic healing. And I think it's a really important topic because I do notice a lot of, especially religious based people, but spirit, those who call themselves spiritualists also um, can fall kind of in that bypassing category. So, which is kind of linear. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I feel like we're all prone to falling into it, especially for those of us who haven't had any experience of or had limited experiences of the highly vibrational feelings. It's almost intoxicating and it's like I want to stay here forever. I never want to go back to those bad ones that I had before. I think it's part of the process though. I think some people are more like some people's experiences are more severe with the bypassing than others. But I think we do go through some form of that where we just want to sit and revel in this like heightened sense of, feeling elated and joyous and all these things. You hide the bad emotions. You act like the bad emotions don't exist. You want to displace them. And, I've even had people almost pretty much insinuate that maybe I was the crazy one because I sensed that they may have been feeling something they didn't want to acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. And I think that for many people, religion is sacred, and they it resonates with them, and it works for them, and more power to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have noticed that many of my friends so I was raised in a Reformed Jewish household um, where we were taught, in religious school to critically think, and they wanted our opinions and good, bad, or indifferent. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true for all Jewish people, and I don't think it's true for most religious people. I think that it's pray and let's get joyful and happy and stuff down everything else. And there's good and bad emotions. There's assignment of judgment to how you behave, what you feel, what you're allowed to feel, and there wasn't it was very linear and not all encompassing of all the range of human emotions and experiences, which I think makes spirituality richer because it builds your character to actually be authentic. So the more that you are your authentic self, which takes some work, we bury that authentic self under, you know, trauma and our experiences in the world, good, bad, or otherwise. We become someone who frequently, most often, isn't the full authentic self. And so then it takes some work to allow yourself to experience all of the range of emotions without judgment and understand yourself and your character. If we take the opportunity, the authentic self starts to blossom, and it's not linear. It's like a full circle. I really feel that, the fullness, and it gets fuller and fuller. That's where the authentic self and authentic healing really thrives.
Yeah. Yeah. Shows up in our aura. The
Oh,
wider
yeah.
fans, the more authentic you are with self.
I love that. Um, well, coming up next, I had a chance to chat with Maria Chowdhury about this very topic, and that interview will be coming up next. Hey there, Wendy Jo from the Grow podcast. So today we're talking about spiritual authenticity, and this is a really important topic. Many people are looking at emotions and experiences in a very linear way, separating them into good and bad, and oftentimes repressing the so-called bad emotions and experiences. When we look at spirituality in a more whole way, we're looking at all emotions and experiences as sacred and blessed and necessary to spiritual growth and understanding. How are you approaching your spirituality? Are you authentic? Do you accept all emotions and experiences as growth opportunities? Hey there, friends. Wendy Jo from the Grow podcast. I am super excited today because I am introducing you to Synergy Skinworks, your trusted source for medicinal cannabis patches. That's right, a transdermal system for cannabis medicine. And it doesn't matter where you place it on your body because the medicine goes where the blood flows. It's 97% bioavailable in this form, and the patch won't move if you sweat or get it wet. They are available in all 38 dispensaries in Arkansas and also in Oregon and Montana, and I just know they're going to be available all across the country because it is brilliant. As a patient, I find them to be discreet, easy to use, and I can place it and forget about it for 24 hours. As a health professional, I love it that patients can give their lungs a break. If you'd like, you can learn more at synergyskinworks.com. And I've got my patch on. Peace out. Joining me now is Maria Chowdhury. She's returning to the show, and she is owner and proprietor of Birthsong Botanicals and Path with Harmony Qigong. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you.
It's always a special treat for me, and I love our topic today. So you made a post on social media that really kind of grabbed my attention about authentic healing. I think on the actual graphic, it was spiritual bypassing versus authentic healing, and I thought, wow, this is a great topic for the Grow podcast. So explain it to me a little bit about why you decided to post this and what the two things, one versus the other, what they are.
Mm-hmm. So I saw that graphic. I didn't create the graphic. Mm-hmm. And it really resonated with me because as a Qigong practitioner, I often talk about emotions because from the perspective of Qigong, your body and your organs hold emotions, right? And so sometimes I'm in this language dynamic paradigm still, even though I know better, like I have a more holistic understanding in my being, but then my language still puts things as positive or negative, higher frequencies and lower frequencies, because that's the way it was taught to me. And so then I'm perpetuating this language, even though I'm looking for a new way to describe it. And so when I saw that image, symbols speak really clear. Then the image, just for people to see, it had the straight line, and it said spiritual bypassing on top, and it had higher frequencies, and they were emotions that we love. Love, joy, happiness, compassion, bliss, right? And then down lower frequencies, negative frequencies, denser frequencies are anger and frustration and jealousy and greed and competitiveness and things like that. And while they are, there is something to be said about there is joy is a much higher frequency. Like it just rises up. Even when you smile, you can really feel your posture change. You can feel your whole insight change. It becomes like higher and lighter, right? It is it's associated with yang energy. It's light, you
Right.
know, and then guilt is pretty heavy, condensing down deep, and it just drops down, right? And you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, right? It's stuck in that, right? And so there is something to be said about that. But
Mm-hmm.
what that graphic on the other side is saying was a circle. And then the
Mm-hmm.
circle was wholeness and healing. And authentic healing is the totality, the wholeness of your being. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not prioritizing one emotion over another. It's including in the wholeness of ourselves, yes, the truth, the authenticness of our whole being is we both are both happy and depressed at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We have joy and bliss and anger at the same time. And
Right.
so
And all of those are important, you
they're
know.
all important and they're
Mm-hmm.
access points and they hold information. And they hold information and at the same time
Right. 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 And
are in the realm of qigong practitioners and in the realm of healing, what is holistic healing, what is authentic healing, because I'm almost even thinking like authenticity is almost the, and here again I'm getting caught in the languaging, but that is the highest realm of self-expression. Like you can have your physical body and your healing process, and then you can have your feelings of love. And a lot of people think love is the highest emotion or the highest expression of the divine through us. And I almost don't even think, I almost think authenticity is even higher than
mm-hmm.
love. And see, I'm still putting it in that like higher priority, but it doesn't feel like in order to be authentic, you have to move through the phases of love for you to even be authentic, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like love is almost like the compost or the soil in which authenticity blooms,
Oh, I
right? And so
love that.
those
Wait.
denser emotion, what?
Well, I love that what you just said, you know, love is the soil from which authenticity blooms. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a really important point. And I guess I hadn't thought about that um, because, you know, human beings like to rate things, put things on a scale, right? Love is the highest, you know, I don't know, betrayal and anger is low. I don't know what the lowest would be, right? But all of them are so important. And if you're not leaning into all sides of your emotions, how can you possibly be authentic and find true peace and healing? Is that what you're kind of
Exactly.
what you're saying?
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to get at is like when you're thinking of a garden, right? Like when you're thinking of a garden and that beautiful peony flower blooms, like our all eyes go to peony flower and that's like the thing we all love, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in order for that peony flower to have bloomed this in this kind of spring summertime, it had to have the plant had to have died. It had to have like the leaves turned yellow. The plant died. It like looked like it died. It went deep into the roots. All you saw was ground. And then it was winter, winter, winter. There was nothing there. So it seems like death and nothing there. And then eventually a little sprout comes, and that's really cool, but it's not a flower, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually there's this bud, and you wonder, 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 wonder. And and then there's ants crawling all over the top of it, and then
Uh-huh.
and then there's weeds growing all around and all this stuff, and then eventually the peony blooms and we
Mhm.
give it all the attention, but all that stuff, the rain, the winter, the ants, the soil, the nothingness, the barrenness, the compost, and
Mhm.
all this whole process had to happen for it to bloom.
Right.
And so if any one of those pieces isn't there, it's not going to bloom. And
Right.
so you need the compost, you need that like grit, that the waste product, the things we're letting go of. You need to have all that there to have the beauty of the bloom. And
Right.
so,
And
but we just prioritize the bloom
mhm.
without any of the other cultivation, realizing each piece is an integral part to
Right.
that.
Yes. And that's true for human beings and their healing work and being able to really tap into who they really are. All of those elements have to be acknowledged. We are complicated beings and we've done good in the world, we've done bad in the world, we've made mistakes, we have done created blessings, and without all of that journey, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So I really relate to this. I think when I saw the graphic, I was just like, whoa, yes, because in a previous episode, Ashley and I talked about toxic positivity, right? And I think this sort of relates because many people in the so-called new age world, they talk about, staying positive, have a positive mind. I was one of those people, like always look at the positive side, but it's not authentic. And what could be authentic is by acknowledging everything coming to a positive space in your mind and in your life. That feels better than just, you know, every so often I give this fake smile to Angela. I'll be walking by and I'm like, and she's like, what are you doing? I mean, that kind of reminds me of that also. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such this fine, nuanced thing because as healers, we're on this healing journey. And the
Mm-hmm.
word healing, it almost sounds like I don't know, it almost sounds good. Like I just get to go take a bubble bath. I'm healing, right?
Right.
When healing, I've just been really sick. So healing is often like sore, scratchy throat and coughing up a bunch of stuff, like going deep inside and seeing that sickness inside you and looking
Mm-hmm.
at it and really being real with yourself. But and I guess I want to just say that healing, is the word comes from wholeness and
Mm-hmm.
holy, and then what happens in this healing process is the peeling away of our of our pain and looking at our traumas and looking at our memories. And then then there's this fine line between like a gentle release and opening, and versus what we tend to do sometimes is go a little too far, and
Mm-hmm.
then we reattach to that pain, like we go through that healing process, that trauma, and
Mm-hmm.
then we process it again and again and again and again, and like we're reattaching, and then we're re-identifying with it over and over. And so sometimes we push our healing too much and it actually puts us back into the trauma state even more so.
Mm-hmm.
And so that graphic, I felt like it had space and it wasn't like forceful in the healing. It was just allowing whatever to come through, and then to rest within it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't like go deeper. You don't always have to go deeper into the healing, because sometimes we're just, like I said, re associating or re-traumatizing
Re-traumatizing. Yeah, it does
and
happen. Mm-hmm.
reconnecting to it. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so that graphic, if you notice, there was a at the very beginning, it was like all these things on top of each other and all these things on top of each other, and there was this like vast chasm in between. We're in the circle that everything had spaciousness.
Right. The
Um,
circle, I love just the idea of a circle, um, with Edge Coaching and Consulting, we're doing a healing circle on Wednesday nights. It's everyone is equal. Um, Everyone has a contribution. Just the circle is a comfort to me. Like, so I think when you look at authenticity in terms of a circle, right? Everything is equal and important, on the circle, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if someone really wants to start really making sure that they're in their authentic self, do you have a point of reference where people can start with that? Because I think many people, even through their lifetime, they could be in their 40s or 50s and they're not really their authentic self. They're not, because they've been taught to push down certain emotions, push aside certain things, gloss over it, be positive, whatever, or live in their negative space. They haven't found that authenticity and knowing who they really are. Do you have a thought about where people get started with that?
That's a phenomenal question, and that's the journey we're on, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's coming to me when you're asking that is attention. So again, as healers and as qigong practitioners, we're taught to have an intention. Okay, I'm gonna put my intention. I'm gonna have a seed. I'm gonna have a thought. I'm gonna think positive, or I'm gonna be in this healing journey, or I have this intention to know myself. That intention is really important. It's like the seed that you're planting in that garden, that peony seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that seed is going to grow what it is. Like if you're planting a peony seed or bulb, it's going to grow peonies. It's not going to grow strawberries, right? So it's
Right.
going to grow. But I feel like what we do that's maybe a mistake, and this is a challenge right where I am in my own life, is I almost think like I'm putting my mind on it. I'm putting my mind on it so much so that it's like I'm forcing to know myself, or right. And so
Mm-hmm.
versus paying attention to yourself, and that's conscious. But then I have these unconscious aspects of, or subconscious aspects of myself, my personality, if I'm prone to toxic positivity, or if I'm prone to depression, or if I'm prone to whatever, all these old feelings and emotions, all these things are within me, and that's influencing the quality of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lifetime process. But if you were to ask me, how do you know yourself? It's pay attention.
Well, this has been a great discussion. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best place for them to reach you?
Well, the best place to reach me is go to pathwithharmony.com, and there's a contact button right there. You can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. It's also Path with Harmony. But I think the best, most direct way is go to the website, and you'll see all my work. It's all about Qigong and healing and being a healer.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
I was actually quite shocked when I heard of the term spiritual avoidance. Because once it was explained to me, I realized that a lot of people that I know are actually exhibiting some of this behavior. It falls almost in the category of toxic positivity. It's like, if you're spiritual, you have to positive all the time. Like you're supposed to always be happy. And this idea ignores our humanism, and I don't think that's fair. So if I feel sad or angry or anywhere in between, I think the more balanced approach is to be able to share that and acknowledge the gratitude that's in a situation. Just like anything that feels good, spirituality does have a euphoric appeal to it. And sometimes people will use that euphoria as an excuse why they shouldn't have to deal with certain things in the physical plane. This is very similar with cannabis. They will use it as a strategy to avoid life as opposed to using it as a way to enhance life. I think the big takeaway is to feel your feelings and be okay with it, even if those feelings don't necessarily feel so great.
Hey there, Wendy Jo, co-host of the Grow Podcast. Also, Wendy Edge, occupational therapist. And I wanted to tell you about my new business where I'm combining the principles of occupational therapy, coaching, and spirituality and wellness, of course. On the website, you'll see that I'm doing Osho Zen card readings, spiritual coaching, spirit paintings, and so much more. So if you want, check it out, edgecoachingandconsulting.com.
Have you heard of the Cannabis Nursing School? It's a place where cannabis nursing, entrepreneurship, and spirituality meet. The High Aligned Tribe is waiting for you, and it's so easy to find. CannabisNursingSchool.com.
And we're back. Well, this has been a really rich episode. I really enjoyed the interview and chatting with you about this as well. So, do you have examples from your own life where you can illustrate what we're talking about?
Yeah, so I've dealt with it in other people, but I think the thing that may actually be more powerful is when you recognize that you demonstrated it in your own life. I do think that a lot of us, especially when you go from unawakened to awakened in this process of discovering yourself and expanding yourself and going through all these cycles, that sometimes you do feel a little crazy and you want to hide it. You don't want other people to think that you're crazy. And that's what happened with me. And so early on, it's been a few years since my very first awakening experience. And it wasn't until in recent years that I've even been able to discuss it out loud with other people, because I really did think that people were going to think that, I was bananas. But it's actually two things that show up. So one, when I discovered that energy was in all things, that matter was energy, and that, it was an expansive energy. And once the realization came, I could actually sense it and I could see it. It was almost like everything was glowing, right? And it wasn't necessarily that it was actually glowing. I could just sense the energy that was radiating from different objects, different trees and things like that, because now my awareness had grew in that moment. And because of that, now I'm becoming more sensitive, right? And so I'm going through my life being more and more sensitive over time, but I have to operate in my real life. And I'm still working at this time. I'm still working in a 6-figure corporate position. I still had to show up professional. I had just fixed my hair. So that was a thing that I had to work through. And so there was a part of me that I was keeping separate from the work life or the regular life, and the part of me that was over here in the corner that I'm just trying to figure out because I don't understand it. I think that it can become toxic when you don't acknowledge that that's what you're doing for too long. You see what I'm saying? Because so if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, are you sensing trees?" And I said no, I think that would be the bypassing part. You see what I'm saying? But if you ask me and I know this, I'm acknowledging it, this is part of who I am, and we're engaging with it because of your curiosity, I'm happy to participate. But there are some people who, if they're asked, they'll avoid. Right. And I think that's what the avoidant behavior shows up for in other people.
Right. And when you're not being honest with yourself and others, you don't have to tell them your life story. You can acknowledge, yeah, but I don't like to discuss that at work. And maybe if you're really curious, we could discuss it at another time outside of work. Yeah. It kind of gives you a little out, but you're being authentic, Yeah. Yeah. That's a good example. So I hope that people listening and watching start to recognize it in their own lives and choose the more authentic path, because it's really brings more of a positive outlook and nature, and also allows more spiritual growth.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great week, everyone. Bye.